You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV Network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Gene. Johnson.
The AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California. Presented by Maria Menounos and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies. This is AFTERBUZZ TV's Almost Human After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's Almost Human After Show.
Hey there, Almost Human fans. Are you ready for some Dorian-sized finale fun?
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if I can take it.
Less than a minute in, Dorian jokes.
No one can take it. No man or android can take it.
Guys, this is the last one we have to insert as many Dorian-sized fun jokes.
He was made to feel.
Yes, it's true. All right, this is the AFTERBUZZ TV Almost Human podcast. We're talking about Season 1, Episode 13, Straw Man. I, as always, am Matt Lieberman. Joining me on the panel, fantastic and talented Megan Salinas.
Hey, everyone.
Ryan Hooks.
Hey.
Zach Wilson.
Welcome back, guys.
And we have two wonderful guests today, the amazing twins, Kris and Alix Angelis. Am I saying that right?
Angelis, yeah.
Angelis.
Without
welcome.
the E.
Hello.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So you guys are actresses and musicians and
writers.
And writers.
And award winners.
Award winners. Fans of the show, fans of Almost Human. So we look forward to getting your feedback on this amazing episode.
And don't forget the link to Minka Kelly.
Yes, that's true. You guys were in a commercial with Minka Kelly during the Super Bowl. We didn't really see any Minka this evening in the latest episode, like 30 seconds. Now, before we get started, I know that every fan is looking for something different from a finale. And there are a lot of fans I know that were disappointed that we didn't get any connections to the many threads that had been dangled throughout the season. There was no real in-syndicate connection or nothing concrete. We didn't see any XRNs pop up, no John Larroquette. Instead, we explored a brand new story, which I think will ultimately tie into everything else. The story of John Kennex's father and his apparent murder, corruption within the police department. And in this way, it felt decidedly old school, this finale. It wasn't fan service. It wasn't catering to anybody. It was just a very well-told detective story that brought in another piece of information that I think is going to become important down the line. How do you guys feel?
I totally agree. To me, this felt like a mid-season finale. Like they thought they were going to get a back nine, and they didn't, because the In Syndicate arc, like our big story thread arc, this is like just at the peak of it. Like it's like our interest is peaked. We're waiting. We're ready for more. We have all the chess pieces are like moved forward, but they haven't been brought into attack yet. And then we just sort of tapered off with a nice story down to even the your term has been renewed. That sounds like a back order of 9 episodes.
Right.
I mean, I'm on the fence about this episode because for a finale, this is not what I wanted in a finale episode.
Sure.
And again, I think they were playing towards that back 9, but it wasn't a nice episode. It had like good feel to it. It wrapped everything up in a tight little bow. And one thing that I've been noticing is as the weeks progress, they've been moving slowly closer to the wall every single week. Things are starting to happen closer and closer to the wall. So I feel like they were preparing to get to the wall in the next 9 episodes or a second season. And that's when we start exploring all that territory, but they didn't get there.
Yeah.
Well, to me, I really like this episode. I think it's a really great standalone. And in terms of leaving it as the finale, it does kind of leave you with that kind of like elated, like, I want more, but like I'm still satisfied with how this ended. What kind of threw me off a little bit, though, when I was thinking about it more was I could very well, since they were, moving episodes all around anyway, I could have very easily seen them doing this as the second to last episode, and with the very last episode being the XRN episode, and having that be our cliffhanger season finale with John Larroquette's character going up over the wall.
Over the wall.
And with the new leg for Kennex, I thought it would have been hilarious if that new leg was the one that shot the XRN right out of the building window in that episode. I thought that would have been awesome.
Or if he kicked down the wall with it.
Yeah.
But that's great. I mean, that's a really good point, because that would have all fit perfectly. And that would have been a crazy big set piece for a season to end on, and just like leave us wanting more. Like desperate for more, because we want to see more of that XRN.
But at the same time, if this doesn't get a season 2, I am satisfied with kind of leaving as like a, with a very good positive feeling, even if it's not, like if the series had ended on a big cliffhanger and we didn't get any more,
been so mad.
I would have been livid.
Yeah. A lot of people compare, and I don't want to poison the air and make anyone think that this show isn't coming back. I sincerely hope that it is. If it doesn't, though, I like this as the finale in the same way that I appreciate the finale of Firefly. For those who have seen it,
Love that show.
It's a great show, and the final episode, the message, it doesn't end on a cliffhanger. It ends on this beautiful, positive note about, we love what we've had. We love our relationships with each other. Dorian is given this wonderful gift of everyone that he knows loves him and trusts him when he was an alien to them at the top of the season. And, he has a new lease on life. And I think reaching that emotional climax, while it doesn't give us any of the threads that we wanted for these various storylines, is a very satisfying ending to a season of television. To me. It's not what everyone wants. Everyone wants something different. It's kind of like, and I'm not going to open up the whole Lost finale debate, but you could say that gave you
that much time.
An emotional climax versus a thematic one. How did you two feel about the episode? Did you enjoy it?
I did. I was laughing a lot. I laughed more than I thought I would.
Well, I said at the top of the season, this is a comedy.
Right. Totally. It's a comedy cop show. Yeah. Totally.
Yeah, it didn't necessarily feel that way when I watched the pilot, but I think it's gotten funnier. Or at least we sort of love the characters more as the show goes on. I also like the quality of, you don't know what the mystery is going to be because there are so many unknowns in the future world. It could be anything that is the key to the mystery. I like that.
Yeah, who would have thought a 3D printer was what solved the mystery?
They used the printer thing a couple weeks ago when they did the pills.
Well, that's a chemical printer versus a 3D printer.
Well, it's all
this
essentially
is an organic printer.
Right.
It's all essentially some form of 3D printing, whether it's on a microscopic scale or this like bigger full body size scale.
Right.
I'm with you, Chris. I'm really excited for the cupcake printer, the homemade cupcake printer.
Well, Hershey has a 3D chocolate printer.
I've heard about that. Yeah, it's new.
We're not far from printable cupcakes.
Wow.
Oh, because that makes sense, because it's all a uniform like chocolate thing. That's awesome.
It's just the first step.
So you're saying that we could have a chocolate Dorian?
Look, Matt.
There's not a printer big enough for that.
They're only made to make like chocolate-sized bars, like chocolate bars.
Okay.
Like
maybe you could make a Dorian that's about less than a Dorian.
1/16th scale Dorian.
I was gonna say a 1/1000th scale Dorian,
minus the Golden Gate Bridge.
Yeah, exactly.
The length of San Francisco,
and that's roughly
give or take
a Dorian. Okay, so since we've been running loose with these Dorian jokes, let's talk about his performance review. I loved this sequence because we kind of got to revisit all these old moments with Dorian over the course of the season, and also see how everyone feels about him. Because Kennex, he plays off his friendship. He tries to play it cool and act like Dorian doesn't mean that much to him, but he really does. And I like that this was the same across the board for everybody. That he had ingratiated himself in a big way, and of course Rudy. Made an ass of himself as usual.
I'm not nervous, not at all.
Yeah, I'm just saying that if I was to have your children and then Dorian was to watch,
I would want him to raise mine. Everything that comes out of his mouth is hilarious. I love that character.
Yeah, he's always been funny ever since the British Office. I love watching him work. But what was most interesting to me was Dorian's conflict in dealing with this, because this matters a lot. This could mean if it doesn't go well, he could go back to sleep potentially forever.
Yeah, it's very weird to see Dorian nervous about anything, but he's like, this performance review has him like nerve-wracked.
Yeah. To the point that he starts imitating an MX.
Yeah. I like when he walked in, he's very stiff.
And that soundtrack for that was intense.
Yeah.
Like dubstep. Oh, we're gonna be a robot now.
Well, imagine if you're at work and then you're doing a performance review. Everybody has to do those at some point. But if you fail your performance review, you're not just gonna get fired. You're gonna get killed.
Yeah.
Maybe
You get put to
repurposed.
sleep.
So
Yeah.
intense.
I know.
Terminated.
Well, I mean, it continues to go back to the fact that as human as Dorian is, he is not a person. He belongs to the department. And it's a really screwed up thing, especially when you think about how attached we are and how attached these people are, you know, and then ultimately he's still hardware.
I mean, I think we'd trade out Detective Paul before we'd get rid of Dorian.
I know.
Well, I don't know after this episode.
After this episode, yeah, Detective Paul
No,
gets a little
I'd still get rid of
moment.
him.
You know, he had a redeeming moment. He was going to give that guy
He did. He
Some
did give that
Bitcoin
guy.
in a room. And
Yeah, but then the dude gets murdered.
No,
he's
he's
still
not
alive.
murdered.
He's still alive.
okay.
You're right. You're right.
But the thing is, in the interrogation scene, my favorite moment.
Yeah.
He flipped a van once.
That was pretty cool.
That was my favorite too.
Didn't know he could
Oh my
do that.
gosh.
Right. I love that they referenced that. I was hoping that we were going to get some more stuff on that side of things about, you know, how his strength seems to be increasing, and that, you know, he's starting to feel more and learn a lot more. Isn't that a little scary? I was waiting for those questions from the committee.
I mean, because going back to that episode, Dorian looked shocked that he had flipped that van. He didn't know he could do that.
Yeah.
So that's clearly something off about this DR. And we did get that moment from Maldonado, who was like, "That's all I can tell you."
This one's special.
Yeah.
So there is something unique about Dorian.
Yeah.
About DRN 0167.
All right, I'm just going to bring this up now because it's been bugging me since I watched the episode. Now, the whole time in this episode, we're talking about police corruption. When John first goes to Captain Maldonado and tells her that these notes are sealed and I need to be able to see them, she has this look on her face, and then she says that she'll give him all the notes.
She says she'll take care of it.
She'll take care of it. Does anyone think that Maldonado's dirty?
I've kind of been wondering that the whole season. Like if they talk about the mole and like someone in the department and then various things. So
I admit
been
that
there.
she's the absolute last person I would suspect. I suspect Stahl more than I expect Maldonado. But
See, I feel like she's so beyond reproach that she has to be guilty. Do you know what I mean?
But to what end? Like, to what end is she dirty?
I think that she is involved within Syndicate. I'm throwing it out there, ready to be wrong. Riddle me with wrong
I
bullets.
dare you to show another episode and prove him wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I dare you, Fox.
Come at him, Fox.
Show me how wrong I
J.H.
am.
Lieberman, we're coming for you.
Spend the $4 million roughly an episode and show me how wrong I am.
It would be like in Castle when the captain that you think is like the best guy ever, what's his name, was one of the dirty cops.
oh man, that would be terrible if that was true.
What's his name? I forget.
I don't know. It's been so long.
The captain in Castle.
The captain in
But
Castle.
Listen, this is
always
the
throws-
Almost Human podcast. We don't care about Castle.
But it
Well,
always
it's
throws you
nothing
off
of that.
with when there's this this person you think is a pillar of integrity, and all this time they've been just playing everybody. Like, oh my gosh, like how crazy would that be?
And I know I'm wrong. I know that I'm wrong, but I can't let go of this suspicion.
This is the only time I'm ever going to say this. I think you might be right.
Yeah.
It'll
I
never
hope
happen
you're
again.
not.
I know.
I love Maldonado. I love Maldonado.
And I love
hate-
hearing Ryan say that I'm right.
I mean, she is like she is sort of a mother figure to Kennex right now.
She brought
Very much.
but here's the thing. Let me just throw some evidence on the table. She's the one who brought Kennex back to the Force when everyone said that she shouldn't. She's the one who demanded that this DRN be activated and given to Kennex specifically. So either A, and this is again, big prediction, Edward Kennex is alive and is potentially the head of In Syndicate. I'm going to say that. And Captain Maldonado is in cahoots. Or at the very least, he gave her some dying wishes, and this is part of a plan was decades in the making.
Well, if she is part of In Syndicate, and In Syndicate, you remember that In Syndicate had this listening device in Kennex's apartment.
Yeah.
So if she knew that, instilling him back into the Force, it makes perfect sense.
I've got one other thought.
I don't want it to be true.
Maybe.
So what if she is involved? I'm sorry. That she is involved and knows the answer.
Yeah.
And is giving Kennex all the clues to solve the puzzle, but like isn't telling him because maybe she's implicated in some way. So.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe she has a past where she was, wrongdoing.
She's staying clean.
But she's trying to like make up for it and.
And kind of lead him in the right direction, but without coming out and saying, I'm the one to blame for all of this.
Yeah, something like that.
I'm interested. I'm game. Give me a second season, Fox, you beautiful bums, you.
The point is there's a lot of different paths that they could go down that would be interesting.
Yes.
Because they put a great
I know
chessboard together. Finish it.
I know they've spent this whole season just giving us all these amazing nuggets and threads, setups for things that if we never get built on any of them, what's the point, guys? I mean, what are we doing here?
I spent some quality time with you guys. That's the point.
I know. Well, that's true.
The point is that Dorian and Kennex are the best of friends, and they will keep fighting crime even
till the
if
very end.
even if Almost Human doesn't go on.
It's true.
With Kennex's new leg.
Yes. Which, like, the lightest leg ever. He was holding it like it was full of packing peanuts. Like, I feel like technology, it should be at least leg weight.
Yeah, well, he works out,
That's true.
So,
you're very right.
See, Carl Urban has a very nice
finely tuned eyesight.
Well, how much does a human leg weigh?
I would say if the
it depends.
average,
Are you talking about like my leg or their legs?
I'm talking about Carl Urban's leg.
Carl Urban's leg, I would have to imagine, weighs at least 30 to 40 pounds.
Or more.
Okay.
Of pure muscle.
Yeah, or more. That's what you're absolutely right. If he's as built as he probably is, he's probably around 200 pounds. Now you take the chest and the other legs and the arms and the head out of the equation. I'd say that's at least 45 pounds.
I'm about 200 pounds. Do we want to weigh my leg and just see what happens?
Yes.
Chop it off.
Yes, I would love to chop your leg off.
Or we could print it.
Stephen, can we get a bone saw in here?
All right. Everyone...
Ryan's just admitted he will give his leg for science.
Okay,
yes.
Great.
Only for the Almost Human podcast science. Not real science, no. That's dangerous.
Speaking of 3D printing, let's talk about the straw man murders. We've got this guy who's going around to all the local shelters where they print pills based on your nutrient needs, and he is, secreting away all of these people. Secreting them away to his lab where he 3D prints them, throws a body away, this fake body filled with straw, and then I guess uses their heat matrix style to power his cyborg implements?
No, what he does is he experiments on them because his cyborg parts are failing. And so what he's doing is he's experimenting on them with new cyborg parts to make sure that they'll work.
So do any of the experiments go wrong? Like, did it?
Well, the two girls that they saved at the end, those were the only two that were still alive.
The thought then too is because in the very first girl he makes a comment about, I had some stuff done, and he like touches the scar on his neck. So clearly he had experimented and things had gone wrong with him and the people.
Oh, right. I thought they were all going to still be alive.
Yeah, no.
I was hopeful.
Even the people from the first round of kidnappings. That's what I thought.
Especially because there were so many cases, too, that presumably people could be in. I was really hopeful. I was like, just once, everyone lives.
There were two alive in there. Beside the last
the two
guy.
girls that were kidnapped.
And then the guy.
And the guy.
But he was dead.
What?
Sunglasses guy. Am I the one that watched the episode?
No, I'm sorry. They found a body, and then the two girls.
Ryan Hooks.
Yes, Matt Lieberman.
This man was alive, and you reported him dead.
Sunglass Man was alive in the truck. There was another man in a case that was dead.
Yes, he was dead, and he was blue.
Yeah. Think of how his family would have reacted to receiving such a wrong diagnosis
via a podcast.
Yeah.
Well, the police already did that anyway. Said all of them were dead.
It's true.
But they weren't.
But they were.
We're getting really deep now.
Well, we're going to get even deeper. I don't know if you listen
We're
to
going to
this
go Dorian
podcast.
deep, okay?
Whoa. No one can go Dorian deep. There isn't enough planet to handle that. Okay?
I feel like our Dorian jokes have just reached a whole nother level.
Oh, we're going to top it, and then we're going to top it again.
The deepest level.
Oh,
so
stop.
I have a serious
Dorian
question.
intended.
Please. With the 3D printing of like the bioparts, because I find it hard to believe that they couldn't tell that it was 3D printed organics.
I had that question too.
The thing to keep in mind is that this initial run of murders was done, I guess, years ago.
It was only 10 years.
Only 10 years ago.
10 years ago?
Yeah, back in 38.
2038, back in the day. So my guess is that whatever, the printer parts that were stolen from the police department, that at the time that was the top, the highest end organic printer that you can get. That's my guess, and
I'm going to say two things. One, I agree with you, and the fact is, if that was the most advanced printer that they had on the market at the time, and he has access to their real DNA and can,
do a full body scan and
exactly, and then before throwing it out there, putting some of that DNA on the body enough to make it look convincing, that could convince a team of cops back then. And then now that we know we have this established methodology of this straw man killer, just seeing a body produced like that would fool Kennex on first glance.
I was wondering, though, why, when they were doing the autopsy or whatever, why they thought that it was a copy. Like, before he brought up the flat feet thing.
Because of the fingernails.
What about
the fingernails were too clean. They were homeless.
They were printed, and then all the fingers were perfect.
Why didn't they have the... I mean, if they can have all their little zits and, like, finger pricks and stuff, why isn't there also dirt?
Well, because that's not...
That's organic
it
matter.
prints the exterior, though.
Because it's not all organic matter, as you were saying. They have their DNA, and it's able to do a full scan of the body.
Yeah, and it didn't print their clothes too. So
it just prints the DNA parts.
Yeah. It uses the DNA as a map, and then does a full body scan to attribute the size.
Okay.
What size is that, Matt?
Dorian sized as he sang it aloud.
Hey, Lionel Richie.
But so
hello.
Your DNA can't say that you have a cut on your finger. I'm sorry. I don't believe it.
well, that's what the scan is.
You have a degree in science?
Yeah.
She's working on a
biology
PhD
and psychology
in
degree.
psychology.
But that's what the scan is for, because they can scan the outside of the body, and then that picks up on the pinprick. And
Besides,
Suspending
psychology
my
is not a real
disbelief, it's
science.
fine.
No, it's important that we have a full conversation where we're able to provide multiple viewpoints.
Because we're gonna get real deep here. Because I have a question.
Yes.
If they insinuate that you can 3D print the regular organs now.
Yeah.
With the new machines, you can, to the point that they are
cellularly.
You can't tell the difference.
Yeah.
So that means they're fully working. That also insinuates that they could 3D print a brain. Could they 3D print a working brain?
That's difficult to determine. That's a wonderful question. I think it would come down to, since we as humans, we only know roughly what 10% of the brain does, right? So I would have to imagine that a lot of that depends on what's going on in that other 90% of the brain, how much of that can be replicated, and then also at what point in a person's life are you replicating that brain? Would it be able to replicate memories in the cells or just the cells biologically?
Well, and I'm going to jump in. I don't think that they have, well, it's the future, who knows. They might not have printer capabilities that can make functioning organs. They'd have like something that like this that could make the exterior of the organ.
Well, they already
but maybe
have.
not.
They
said they were fully functional.
Yeah, and they
weren't to
they actually
scale.
can 3D print an organ now.
Yeah. I want to hear the biologist's perspective.
Well, and psychologist with the brain thing.
Yeah,
because if it's if it's really like every little sinew, like every little connection and everything, that's how the brain works, and that's where memories are connected to. So you would think that would work, and then
there's like the magic of life,
right? I don't know, because that's where the psychology comes in, where they're like, we don't really know.
Because if you could do that, then
we have these theories.
You could, you could resurrect people then.
Yeah.
Right?
And because then it would be like if you printed like my brain, then is that also me?
Mm-hmm.
It's almost human.
Says the twin.
Yeah.
Is that
you?
This is actually what happened. That's why we came to this show.
Okay. That's why you both have flat feet. That's why you're wearing heels to cover your flat feet.
They're almost
okay.
They 3D printed a spare.
Yes. Okay. Really quick before we move on, just gonna talk about iTunes. Don't skip. If you skip, I know I'm gonna tell on you. I'm gonna tell. You didn't. Okay. Good.
They're
Great.
still there.
You're the good fans. You're the ones who don't skip over the plug.
We love you.
I know. Well, here's the thing, right? Here at AfterBuzz TV, we put out 70 hours, probably over 70 hours of free content every week. It's a massive undertaking, and we do everything that we can to make the best possible programming for you. It's all free. It's amazing. We live in the future. You can download it, watch it, stream it, listen. Crazy. Here's the thing, folks. We need your support. We've been getting it all season, but let's just give one last push. If there's anything that we can do as an Almost Human podcast to make them realize that there is a vocal, active fan base.
Even chopping off my leg.
Even chopping off Ryan's leg, we intend to do it. So send a message to Fox. Send a message to our bosses who regularly meet with studio heads, talking about this show, talking about all of our shows and our fan bases, how podcast fans feel about their television shows. Let them know that there is an active fan base. Like and subscribe to the channel, rate and review the show on iTunes. Give them something to show these people that we can send in an email, send a photo with, like we have like a 50-something or like about 50 ratings right now. I'd love to see it hit 60 by the end of the week. I feel like that's not a hard thing to do. Nope. And it makes all the difference in the world for us, for our network, and for the show. I'd like to give a few shout outs to some wonderful fans. Sachab 28. It might be Sasha B 28. I'm not entirely sure. Great show. 5 starts. I deeply appreciate you. Really like listening to your take of the show. Hopefully it doesn't get canceled. But anyway, we'll definitely keep tuning in. Are you assuming that we're going to keep doing this show if it does get canceled?
They can find Matt Lieberman everywhere.
That's true. That's because I'm like a virus. I'm everywhere. I hope you are here to stay. From Tickle DT Lady 412. I love that name. It's so funny. I love this new series and I love this after show. I hope there will be a season 2. We're right there with you.
Aww.
A great fan cast from Chupacabras X.
That's the coolest
the Chupacabra
ever.
Yeah. Multiple Chupacabras X. Okay.
Chupacabras?
Yes, ostensibly 10 chupacabras. A Dorian of chupacabras would overwhelm the planet.
We'd have so many likes on iTunes, we'd explode.
Yeah. If you don't listen to this podcast, you are not an Almost Human fan.
Whoa.
Big fighting words, and I love them. Goes into the show from many different viewpoints, from an inside the show to production level views of the show. A great fan cast. Well, thank you very much to everyone who wrote in.
Thank you.
It means a lot.
You guys are awesome.
Yeah. So we were talking a bit about 3D printing and where it might go potentially and how it affected this case and so on. And I love this concept because if we can make anything and it works like the real thing, where is it going to stop? How do you put a moratorium on cloning brains, on printing brains, on printing hearts, printing, if someone's an Olympian and someone kidnaps them and then prints their calves because they're a runner or a sprinter, suddenly everyone's got Olympic calves.
That sounds awesome.
I don't think it works that way.
I think it
does.
does.
No, it does.
We could have Olympic beards.
If we can print off real functioning organs now, that's true. In the future, that's only going to get more advanced. And if that's the case, that's something revolutionary for healthcare. Like, conceivably, no one has to be on a donor list ever again.
It's true.
Yeah,
conceivably.
I say now they have like prototypes.
Yeah.
They're in like the prototype phase where they can't really. I don't think they put them into anybody, but they are like.
But they're technically functional.
Yeah.
So, but then what happens with now everyone lives forever and everyone keeps having kids and completely overpopulated.
We move to Mars.
Then we have a society that has been so run down with crime and pollution that we have to wall everyone off and have robots.
Right? Or then you start having like age limits, like, oh, you're done. Goodbye.
Like Logan's Run.
Yeah. Exactly.
You get an expiration date.
time.
Oh my god.
In time. Yeah. Oh, we're not doing in time. So Edward Kennex, John's father, investigated the straw man 10 years ago and put away a man that he ultimately discovered did not commit the crimes. He was a virtuous cop, the one cop on the whole force who wasn't dirty.
Who wouldn't take a bribe, even with a gun to his head.
That's my dad.
That was like such a proud moment.
Yeah, I love that scene. The smile on John's face. You could see the little boy inside who was so proud of his father. That was my dad.
Do you really think a man like that
be a cop?
do you really think a man like that could be the head of In Syndicate?
I think if In Syndicate is about pulling down a corrupt bureaucracy that's secretly ruling the entire city and ruining the society, which it appears to be, considering that we've got a walled-off population dealing with God knows what and utter class inequity, I would highly believe that a virtuous man would turn to dangerous and deadly means if it meant bringing that down.
So if that's the case, then In Syndicate is actually the good guys and Maldonado's still a good guy, right?
Or she's the mole working to bring him down from the inside.
But she's still on the
Circular
side of the law. Doesn't matter if it's the wrong side of the law, if it's the right side of
area.
justice.
I'm conflicted.
And you know what we did get a little bit of an establish in this was when a little bit closer to when the wall went up. Because Kennex said that his dad used to take him to the old town, which is where the wall is, where's the wall's blocking off now. So that means within his lifetime, and Kennex is about 30 years older, so it went up maybe within the last 20 years, I'd say.
Yeah, it was definitely up 10 years ago because they were talking about
His beat by the wall.
previous bodies being found such distance away from the wall.
Close to the wall. But you know what that could be a clue towards Edward Kennex being involved with In Syndicate, because we know that he liked to go to places on the other side of the wall.
The pizza place.
Dang it, I need season 2.
That's what I'm saying. Listen, I'm dropping truth bombs all over the place, and they're blowing up in everyone's face. And here's the thing, right? What were you going to say, Zach?
Oh, sorry. I had another little quick tidbit that I thought was very interesting.
Please share.
If you listen closely, at one point in the script, or in this episode, they mentioned New Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
I want to know what happened to Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh.
They just built on top of it like New York.
Yeah.
But they basically say that there is Pittsburgh has been within 2 words. They can just say that Pittsburgh has been destroyed, and they had to build a new one.
Yeah.
Did somebody nuke
That's
Pittsburgh?
kind of terrifying.
It's the Great Pittsburgh War of 2017. You ain't heard about the Great Pittsburgh War? Why don't you sit back in my metal rocking chair and I'll tell you for a spell.
Well, we know the Detroit.
Do we have any banjo music?
We had some guitar music. Where's the guitars at?
Did the Russians move in to protect Pittsburgh?
It doesn't mean it's necessarily destroyed. It's just a new one.
Yeah.
Have you been?
Another one.
Wait, have you been to Pittsburgh? First off, anyone in this room has anyone been to Pittsburgh?
Yeah, I've been to Pittsburgh.
No.
So, are you in any way objected to a new Pittsburgh? Because I am not.
I don't know why we'd need one.
Well, no.
Again, have you been to the old one?
I'm going to throw this out there. Folks who run Pittsburgh are like, you know what? Pittsburgh, it's a good town. It's fine, but we're not getting any kind of cool press. We should be edgy like Las Vegas. Raise the whole town and turn it into a new gambling paradise.
New Pittsburgh.
They mined all the places.
When the colonies were established, New England.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
England wasn't destroyed.
So is New Pittsburgh on the moon? Where are they colonizing?
Very cool.
New Pittsburgh is in the middle of an ocean. It's an entirely metal-made island.
It's in Canada.
I would actually buy that.
Yeah. It's New Pittsburgh, and it's steel mills in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean.
There's your answer to where we do what we do with all the excess people. We build new land things in the middle of the ocean. It's New Britain.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like the old folks' home when people get too old, but they're not going to die because of all their replacement parts.
New Zealand then? So we send all the criminals there like New Zealand or what?
No,
Australia?
No. The criminals stay outside the wall. New Pittsburgh is too good for criminals. The outside the wall is so bad that the homeless people are still inside the wall.
Yeah, it has to be horrifying over there. Like,
we think.
We see a pretty bad homeless situation here. I mean, it is fairly orderly.
Yeah.
With the supplements and all that, but that has to be really bad for them to just abandon it completely. To say no one goes over here.
Or so we think. We haven't seen the outside of the wall. Maybe it's perfectly nice.
They tell them it's really bad out there, so they don't go there. But
yeah, maybe it's the really nice area, and where they are is like where the people that aren't like the high status people get to go.
This is our inside world is just an experiment.
That's entirely possible. I love this.
We do know the other side of the wall is living in the darkness, though.
Yeah,
because they show the wide shots and it's just dark over there, but we have all the light on.
I'm still on the underground thing.
Fake darkness.
It's District 13 under there.
Maybe it's
That's what I was gonna
it's
say.
It's like underground, and they have a whole society.
Maybe it's just District 9 over there.
Maybe it's a Brave New World. Oh, I liked that movie. But maybe it's like Brave New World in that we have the city, and that's where everything is, and then outside that is just kind of we've left it to nature, that sort of thing. So that might be why there's no lights.
That's where all the avatars are.
All the Na'vi. Yeah.
Oh god.
Are we secretly on Pandora, and that's why there's a new Pittsburgh?
We've lost all control, and
no,
we're getting
not even Earth anymore.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit more about this case. I liked our potential straw man who turned out to be innocent. I'm glad that he got set free. Nice happy ending this week.
And he has psychological help.
Yeah,
yes.
Psychological help. Although here's the thing, right? They decided that he was psychologically unwell when he was born. They gave him a test when he was born saying that he was likely going to develop paranoid schizophrenia. I don't know what proof they necessarily have that he ever was. Yes, he had moments where he lost time back then, but he's innocent of the crime.
Well, didn't he made the comment that he occasionally would black out, and they said that he was picked up, covered with DNA, and then left with the scalpel in his pocket, and they found him, after he woke up, and he was covered in his DNA, so that's how they implicated him.
Right. But
did he black out as a result of whatever mental, as a result of his mental disorder, or was he drugged by the serial killer?
Yeah, he was drugged. Yeah. Here's what I think. You're on a slippery slope when people are being diagnosed with mental illness before they have the opportunity to live their lives for more than a minute.
Definitely, because you can have the genetic dispositions to be more likely to have these kinds of things, but depending on your upbringing and chemicals that you're exposed to and everything, you might not be.
Well, and this is something that Almost Human has brought up before in our discussions, is a nature versus nurture type thing. You could be genetically predisposed to things, but if that shapes, society's outlook on you for the rest of your life,
or your own,
then exactly, and then it becomes a self-fulfilling
like, well,
prophecy.
I better be schizophrenic then.
Right. Well, you're also just kind of boxed in for your entire life, no matter what. Every time that he applies for a job, or he applied to be, if he was smart and he tried to be at a private school when he was a kid, that's already on his record.
Yeah, and then he would have to turn to crime.
Yeah.
They just doesn't have a chance.
Yeah. So I'm glad that he's getting out. I also found it interesting that he gets TV and internet in prison.
He had like the iPad on the desk there.
Yeah.
That was interesting.
He had the old school Galaga
They get TV
table.
now.
I think they have. Yeah, they get TV and internet in prison.
They get basic cable.
In their cube. I mean, not that they call them
I
cubes.
don't have cable.
Oh my god.
You all right there?
Yeah.
You lost your headset.
Alex is getting crazy over there now.
I mean, think about the implications of this. If you give, even if it's heavily monitored, if you put like a hacker in a prison cell and then hand them an iPad with internet access, you're basically like, here are the keys.
Yeah.
Well, let yourself out at any time.
Sort of. You can put a certain amount of restrictions on
You can, but if they're a hacker, they know exactly
he's
how to get around
also a model
things.
prisoner. I imagine it took several years for them to install that in his cell.
That's true. It could be a reward for good behavior.
Yeah.
The kind of thing they can take away.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Or smash.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well,
this poor man.
Glad he's okay. Anything else we want to talk about in these straw man murders?
How creepy was that, by the way?
Oh, the stitching and everything? Super creepy.
When he cut it open and pulled the straw out.
It seems like it would be lumpier.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
Like if it was really just stuffed with straw, that they wouldn't really look like people very well.
I guess they have the bones in there, right?
The printers have very good elasticity.
No, I don't think so. I don't think they had bones.
He said that the printer could print
do
bones.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so they did have...
The only thing they didn't have was organs. The organs weren't printing to scale, so they took them out.
Oh,
okay.
So they still have the muscles and bones, just not the inner organs.
Right.
And that's
he
still
took
gross.
them out. He took them out and replaced them with straw.
Okay, that's
the brain.
more...
Yeah.
Like,
It's still super gross.
Why were the organs printing at a different scale? That doesn't make sense.
so they could make him the straw man?
Well, maybe what it was.
That's circular logic, and we don't employ that here on the
Well,
Almost Human
maybe
podcast.
it wasn't that they weren't printing to scale, but they weren't functioning like with whatever technology he had. Like it's like here's a kidney, but it doesn't actually work.
Right.
Would the intestines and the stomach have food in it? In them?
If it's organic matter.
Ew.
See, this is where I'm asking about the dirty fingernails thing, because then...
No, you're right. It's questionable. If we tug this thread, we won't have a sweater anymore, okay? And I like my sweater.
Half of our discussions are debating the fictional science
of
this
Dorian's
television
penis.
And we're back.
Yeah.
Ladies and
That's the other half.
I think with the printing, though, and the dirt on the fingers, my thought is it prints exterior of the body. That's why it got the prick, because it was an exterior pinprick that could be seen and replicated. But the dirt would be under the fingernail, so it would print over, and it'd print the top layer of fingernail and no dirt inside.
I'm liking that. I'm going to go with that.
Can we talk a little bit about redeeming Detective
Paul?
Yeah.
Detective Paul.
Are we going to go ahead and stop calling him Detective D-Bag?
I am
I
until
am
until he starts being a D-bag
I might not
again.
be.
I learned my lesson on another show on Helix. I was calling one of the
he did.
I was calling one of the characters fat, and he's actually not fat. He's jacked. I misread that.
It was because he was a
entirely.
bad guy at the time.
I know.
So we were.
And he's a nice guy on and off the show.
But he's not a D. We're not saying he's a D-bag in real life. Just
but
his
the character.
character is a D-bag.
But his character had a moment of redemption today,
Yeah.
which was actually really sweet. I was like, aw.
Yeah, exactly.
Give that drug addict some money to
He's
go.
undercover. He gives the guy with his night vision glasses. You're so judgmental.
There was nothing to indicate he was a drug addict.
Yeah, man.
You made an
I mean,
assumption.
You know, he's
Shame on you.
homeless.
That is a
probably
offensive.
You know
drug
what they
addict.
say about assuming things?
What did they say, Matt?
They say that assuming makes an ass out of you and me.
How you can spell too?
Yeah. And guess what? I value myself enough to not want to be an ass.
You don't need my help for that.
What's happening? What's happening?
This is a
Anyway.
finale. This is a free podcast.
It was a redeeming moment. And the glasses guy was cool with his night vision glasses, but where did he get them? He probably stole them. As Detective Paul said,
He might have
Between
come
mom
from
jokes.
money.
maybe.
Though I was a little worried at that moment. I was like, he's really kind of blowing his cover here. With giving him money.
I actually thought when they cut back to the scene when the people were talking to him that the guy with the glasses told everyone, and everyone's all like trying to get money from him.
No, he was a better guy than that, man. He really wanted to use it. But I absolutely agree. He's blowing his cover to do a very good thing, but his job should come first. It's true.
But they had to. It was the last moment in the series.
Right. In the season.
I hope not.
They had to
I
make
hope
it
not.
good.
In this season,
That's
yes.
true. That's
Yeah.
true.
And he'd
So
been
they had to
absent
give
for
him
a
that
while. They
moment.
had to give him that. We had to have something to like about him.
And he had been gone. They like wrote him off so we'd forget how wrong
He was in Mexico. He was taking his mom to Mexico.
I
He
was
was
almost
working on
glad
his
to
hemorrhoids.
see him when he came back. He was like,
too.
miss me? I'm like, yeah,
and
kind
their
of.
barbs weren't as sharp. You know, Kennex poking fun at him,
They're-
like, oh,
They're
you know,
almost friends.
Almost.
human. Great. So
I wonder if that thing he had cleared up from the sex bot.
Okay, let's talk about Kennex and Dorian in the car when Dorian asked Kennex what he said in the review.
oh my
It's
god,
hilarious.
So funny. And these are all real examples.
Yep.
That he scanned his balls.
that he exposed himself.
You asked me to show it to you.
Yeah.
I did not.
But you asked me to show it to you.
And thus is born the Dorian Dong joke.
Yes. It was
That we have been running with. If anyone wants to spend
it's
a
hard
couple,
to run with
spend
a
the
Dorian
time,
dog.
Yeah. If anyone wants to
Field
count
trip.
the amount of minutes we've spent on this episode alone,
Can
just
you
talking
imagine
about
what
it.
our podcast would have been like if that moment had been cut out?
Wow.
It would be a completely different show.
Talk about
I don't want to live in that world.
Luckily, you don't have to.
Yeah, it's true.
That's
But
like the
I
other side
would
of the
love if someone really wants to take the time, go back through these podcasts and do a supercut of every Dorian Dong joke. I will promote it, not just on my Twitter. I'll post it on my website. I'll post it on YouTube. It will live forever, and I'll love you forever.
I'm going to call the folks at E, because we know somebody at NBC that can maybe get us a loop.
What?
NBC job over here.
What?
Never mind.
Why is that relevant?
Because she can get it on E, and we can just play Dorian Dong jokes for days.
I don't think
talk about my
NBC's going to
personal
air
life.
that.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to air
They
it at
will.
all, especially since it's about a Fox show.
That's
For now.
Do you know how TV works?
They're
I don't
shopping
think you
around
know how
for-
TV works.
No.
Ryan,
I don't.
do you know where you are right now, Ryan?
Is this vodka?
Yes. All right. So I'd like to move on for a second. We're going to come back and talk about the season as a whole, in general, hopes and dreams for the second season in a second. But first, we're going to talk a little bit with our wonderful guests, Kris and Alix Angelis. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having us. It's been
Yeah.
Where to start, right?
Yeah.
There's
well,
twins. Do we go at both of them, or just one of them at a time?
I don't know. Well, you tell me, Ryan.
I made notes. I did it alphabetically, though, because that's the kind of OCD that I
Well,
have.
go ahead.
Yeah.
I
Have you
did-
ever had notes taken on you before? Is that weird?
Because I have a
Sounds
full
very
page of
personal.
notes about both of you.
Oh my gosh, what does it say?
Don't worry about it. We're going to get there.
I worry about it.
You worry about the things that I write down. You should every single week.
Well, let's talk a little bit. You mentioned earlier, you guys mentioned earlier that you have a science background and a little bit. What's your background with acting? How did you guys get into the entertainment industry? Because you're obviously, very, very smart. You could have
Singers,
gotten a job as a
writers,
scientist.
Actresses.
Thank you. I don't know. We just always we grew up on a farm where we didn't have TV or anything, so we just would run around and make things up and perform for our family.
But we were painfully shy, and so one day our parents were like, "Let's put him in theater camp." And we're like, "No." And then, of course, we were like, "We love this. It's our lives now." And our parents were like, "What did we do?"
So was that the start of your theater musical careers?
Yeah.
Were you guys about 11?
How did you know?
Because the internet told me so.
Weird. Knew it.
That's a creepy thing.
Yes,
You
I am.
guys have a musical background. What instruments do you play?
I play guitar. She plays a little bit of piano.
And tambourine.
Yeah, and we both sing.
I have a question about that. Being twins, are your voice ranges the same?
Pretty much, yeah.
So yeah.
I just wondered if you had the exact same voice range, because genetically your voice is made up a lot of what comes from that. So
Yeah, I mean, what's great about it is that it's basically singing with yourself. You know how musicians harmonize with themselves on records?
Yeah.
It's like that live, though.
and you guys played at Sundance. So
Yeah.
That was
wow.
really cool.
What was the occasion? Why were we playing at Sundance?
Because they have this whole music part of Sundance.
It's a good
And-
opportunity to get songs placed in TV and film.
Oh, great.
like your
People
new
are-
album, The Left Atrium,
Yeah.
available now
Yes.
on
What a
iTunes.
sciencey title, you biologist.
It is.
Yeah.
It's
If you
part
go
of
to her
your heart.
website, you can open her heart.
Exactly.
Oh.
Yeah, it's because and an atrium is also the part of a building you can see into, so it's like you can see into my heart.
Aww. It's so funny because I have friends who I worked with briefly who are twin sisters, who are musicians, and they told me a lot about their upbringing. I'm so curious if yours is similar or different. Now, they said on birthdays, things got a little hairy because at times, they would get joint gifts and there'd be some acrimony over that. What was it like?
There have been, I remember being and looking, and we'd open our presents at the same time and be like, oh, I want hers, or whatever. And sometimes
But
it would
it was
be mutual, and so we'd
often-
switch.
Yeah, it would be
Okay.
like, oh, okay. Yeah.
We also, I don't think we've ever had our own birthday cake. Maybe we have. I think last year, maybe. I
We
had
had
my own
individual birthday
but we've
cakes.
always had joint birthday
It was
cakes,
a great
which
moment.
didn't really bother me.
No, I mean, the whole thing is people are always ask, oh, are there issues with being twins? And it's like, yeah, but it's also great.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it doesn't bother us that we're so similar and have the same birthday.
Do you have the twin thing psychologically, and is that in any way why you went into psychology? Because They were telling me about this kind of like ESP where one of them just got broken up with in New York, and then at the same time in the other one was studying in England, and she immediately started vomiting and felt terrible, and called her and was like, "Did something happen to you?"
Wow. Yeah, we did have a moment like that. I was in a car crash
oh my goodness.
by myself, and I was okay, obviously. And Kris was at home. We were home for Christmas, actually, at our parents' house, and she just started like crying hysterically and freaking out. And our parents were like, "What's wrong?" And she's like, "I don't know, just something's wrong." And so it's not like she had a vision of what had happened, but then
it's a feeling.
And we've definitely done that before. Like I was here, she was in New York at NYU, and I was here, something happened, and she just called me, and she's like, "What's up? What's going on?"
So yeah, it exists.
Stuff like that happens.
Yeah.
That's really kind of crazy, actually. That's almost human, even.
Yeah.
I think it's very human.
Well, it's very human. It's extra human.
Why
I'm just trying to plug.
I think that there are, the ether and universal consciousness and everything, and if you're really connected to a person, even if they're not like your copy, that can happen.
But those electrons that are like light years apart from each other, but they were once connected, and they start turning at the same time. Even
have you seen that? What the bleep do we know?
Yeah,
talks about that.
Cool.
Well, we were the same cell once,
so it's kind of like that,
So it makes sense.
So do you think that a printed cell could somehow become twins?
Like if they
can you 3D print? Like, are you asking if you can like 3D print an egg?
Yeah. And then allow
or would you like flash freeze something at the moment of fertilization and then print a copy of it?
I'm just very curious because it's tying into something very interesting. Like I'd love to see how, if people were trying to emulate that feeling, the connection to another person that I feel like only twins have in the future via technology, how would this show use it? And I feel like you could use it in a variety of interesting ways.
Oh, yeah, that is interesting.
Yeah.
Very much so. I had a really good transition, but we lost it. Talking back to the one cell and splitting apart now, because from what I've been looking up, it feels like you guys have kind of gone in different directions slightly. Like, Kris, you're more into music, and Alix, you're doing more with acting and that sort of stuff. Do you think that's true, like that you're splitting apart in that aspect, that you want to focus more on that, or do you still go both ways?
Definitely. I mean, we are very supportive of each other, and we do acting jobs together, and I'll sing with her and sing backup, but it is nice to have some separation because we want to individuate and be not so competitive, because that happens with twins. You would never guess that.
So Kris, do you write your own music as well?
I do.
Because you write music and then you write scripts.
Yeah.
Alix, so interesting. She won an award for the script she had.
Oh wow!
As well.
What was
Best
it?
Actress.
What was it about?
An engagement was about kind of the.
Was it about an engagement?
Yeah, but not the way you would think. Yeah, it's about this kind of how people grieve and in very weird ways.
Okay.
So it's a little twist ending. It's hard to explain without giving it away.
Yeah.
With Brenda Strong, even.
Oh wow.
Yeah, she was
Desperate Housewives voice.
She's like an angel.
Well, and since you guys are both writers in your own right, how do you guys feel like when you look at a piece of television like Almost Human? Like, how do you look at it from a writer's perspective?
Oh, well, I'm always. Here's the thing. I, as an audience member, am the perfect audience member. I don't see anything coming. I'm just like all on the ride. But when I'm in writer brain, I'm like, oh, and this is what I would do next, and this is the twist I would have.
Bit of an occupational hazard sometimes. You like want to turn that little voice off sometimes so you can just enjoy something.
Yeah.
Some people can't do that, so that's really good that you can keep the two separate.
I can't turn it off.
Alix did a good job of it when we were watching the episode. She's like, oh my gosh, no. She's screaming at the TV.
Okay, unfortunately, we only have about 10 minutes left, so I'd like to go around the room and one at a time talk about how we feel about this season, warts and all. We did have a bunch of episodes air out of order, some things that we feel were not fulfilled, but there was a lot of joy given. And I'll start with you, Alix. Yes, I'll start with you, Alix, and we'll go this way.
Point in the middle.
I know, because I'm rude. But how did you feel about this season, and where would you like to see it go next year?
This season of Almost Human.
Yeah.
Well, I would like to see it continue. I mean, I just got to know these characters and love the relationships, and I think they're hilarious and charming, and yeah, I just want to see more.
Great. Kris?
Yeah, I sort of feel the same way. And yeah, how can we be like, oh, the wall, and we never know? Like, that would be terrible to never know. Yeah.
Absolutely. Zach?
I would love to see more about in Syndicate and tie that into the past. I want to know more about the history of this city that we live in, like how we got to this dire place that we are in. If something went really wrong in the world that we've gotten to this place, or maybe it's just maybe it is just that technology has just become so dangerous. But if it is, I want to go explore more, not just where they are 35 years from now, but how they got there. Yeah, that's what I'd like to see. And also, Fox, worst case scenario, if you don't renew this show, for the love of God, at least give us a graphic novel, because there are so many questions.
I would read that.
So many questions. I can't take.
Put out extra episodes on the DVD, season 1, with 5 extra episodes.
Do those exist?
No, but and that's where I want it to go. But this season as a whole,
right?
I felt like it was really, like, each individual episode was great and I loved it, but as a whole season it felt stinted. There was a lot of stuttering, and not just because of the shifting of episodes. It felt like they didn't know, and I think this might have been partially from what they got handed down from Fox, was that they didn't know whether they were aiming at a procedural or a serial, and they were going back and forth, and then they landed on procedural. But because they introduced a bunch of serialized elements, suddenly we were left hanging. And that, for me, felt off.
If they had never mentioned in Syndicate, I think we would have been actually kind of just as satisfied, if not more.
That's what I was going to say. Like, if the first episode didn't have that information at all, it wouldn't have mattered to the season as a whole. We could have done without that. Or, I mean, I think they should have stayed within Syndicate, because that first episode was, so explosive, literally, and had all these cool elements to it, and they could have kept going with a serialized show. An entire season could have been dedicated to uncovering more about in Syndicate, if there was a mole in the system, more about the outside of the wall, and that could have been the focus of it, while there was still crime going on sort of on the side.
Yeah. Megan?
I love this show, and I really do think that showing it out of order was a huge disservice on Fox's part, because we're not idiots. Like, we can put if we're watching a serialized show, we know we're watching a serialized show, and all it would take is a little 30-second recap before each episode to just say, previously on Almost Human, we will figure it out. And
especially the audience of these type of shows.
Exactly. We're talking about all these psychological and scientific issues when we watch this show. We're thinking about it. And so there's a lot in this series that I kind of feel like the series was bigger than the network let it be, because there's so much going on and there's so much potential with what it could bring in terms of all the things that they've set up. And I kind of feel like we were shortchanged a little bit with all of that. Yeah. Especially with how it was aired out of order. And I know we should move past that, but it really did affect how everybody viewed this show. Because if you don't know that it's airing out of order, then something seems off the entire time that you're watching the series.
And that's why in the finale we got a 6% drop in viewership.
Yeah. Well, here's where I stand on all this. What I find, it's amazing to me that in this day and age, with all of the ways that we are able to digest media and what we expect from the content that we receive, that a show as good as this one can be mishandled in such a fashion, and that it just doesn't connect. Because it's happened before with mediocre shows or bad shows or whatever, but it feels like something like this should have happened 10 years ago. It should have happened to a Firefly or something like that. There's no reason why this show should have been so lightly promoted, aired out of order, confusion between, I think, the writer's room, the production company, or the studio, and the network. I'd love to see a season 2, because I have to imagine with these 13 episodes under their belt and a few months to iron out the kinks, that the next run of episodes is going to have such a clear sense of vision. And they've built such an incredible, rich world. And every episode delivers an incredibly, intricate sci-fi idea that just builds on all the ideas that came before it. And I have to imagine that it's all part of a grander plan. I hope that we get more. And I have to imagine that all of our questions will be answered. Honestly, hopefully with more questions. I was hoping to get some little nugget that would make me ask a bunch of questions over the course of the hiatus. But honestly, I'm glad that we just got a satisfying ending. Our two cops are friends. We have this wonderful emotional climax. And if we never get another episode, I can say it went out as a good show that could have been great. All right?
I like that.
Well said.
I think that's great.
I want to thank Kris and Alix Angelis for coming on the show today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Where can the people find you? Is there anything that you want to promote here on the show?
You can find us on Twitter. It's at KrisAndAlix. Our names are spelled weird.
Kris and Alix.
Kris and Alix. And, you know, just look out for us on the TV land.
Okay. We're going to be on some
Potentially
stuff we can't talk about
unemployment,
Oh, okay.
potentially.
Oh.
Sitcom pilot being shot.
Well, it's a spec pilot. It's a sitcom. It was really fun to shoot, but we'll see what happens with that.
Or Young
Fingers
Americans,
crossed.
maybe?
That's a very cool indie feature that hopefully will be in the festival circuit this coming year. So
Wonderful.
Oh, I actually have a show on Friday at Room 5.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
if they
so
wanna
if
come
you're
check
in
out
LA,
your Kris.
Yeah.
come see Kris at Room 5.
It's above Amalfi Restaurant on La Brea
Okay.
at 7 p.m.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Megan, where can the people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at TheMenguin. That's TheMenguin. I'm also on the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. podcast. So
yes, and
that'll
that's
be on
taping later tonight. Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah,
Ryan
and you can find
Hooks.
me at RyanHooks92 on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and Yahoo.
I'm Zach Wilson. You can catch me on Twitter and Instagram at @ZachWilson, and also here at AfterBuzz on Grimm, Helix, Archer, and coming up this Sunday, I'll be hosting Resurrection with Matt Lieberman.
Yes, you will.
brand new
And
ABC.
if you want to find me on Twitter, and well, I imagine that you do, you can find me at Matt Lieberman. That's MattLieberman. You can also find me all over the place here on AfterBuzz TV. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. with Megan Salinas. Got Resurrection coming up with Zach Wilson. Also doing Helix with Zach.
Such a good show if you're not watching
Such a great show. If you're looking for another great sci-fi show, watch that. Lost Girl on Sci-Fi, Banshee on Cinemax, Justified on FX, Cougar Town, Resurrection, Playing House on USA coming up this spring, as well as the return of Orphan Black on BBC America. Mad Men's coming back, I believe, in April. Lots of announcements coming up, so stay tuned. Thank you all for your support over the course of this season. It's been a real blast.
Thanks, guys.
I would be remiss if I didn't say it was Dorian-sized fun.
Yeah.
Have a good night, everybody.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.
Thank you for watching AfterBuzz TV on YouTube. For more of your favorite after shows and interviews, subscribe to our channel here, and be sure to share your opinion on the episode in the comment section below here. We'd love to see what you guys are buzzing about. Thanks again. Buzz you later.